Q. You can follow me across all socials at Bets by Q. And of course, this podcast is brought to you by Black Sheep Betting, where it is a dog's world. Before we kick off this special edition, just want to mention the two links in the description. One for my VIP. That's where I give out all of my official plays, focus on value over volume. No crazy lotto plays, just disciplined betting designed to keep us positive month over month. The second link in the description, that is for the free chat in the Discord with my boy Will from the Double Fault Tennis Podcast. We've got over 800 bettors from around the world in there talking sports every hour of every day. The chat is absolutely free. It's sharp, and it's where a lot of these ideals kind of start. Okay? All right. Today's episode, I told you, look, I missed Tuesday during the week, so I'm going to kick it off with a Saturday edition. I'm going to go through the whole NFL slate. All right? Breaking down every single Sunday game, top to bottom. But before we get into it, I want to spend a few minutes talking about how I approach the NFL and how I approach betting on it. Because it's not just about teams, it's about numbers. So let's start with key numbers, okay? In football betting, key numbers are the most frequent final margins of victory, okay? And there are really only two that matter, but there are four of them. The two that matter the most, 3 and 7. The other two that matter, 10 and 14. 3 and 7, for obvious reasons, these are because of how the game is scored in itself, right? Field goals are worth 3, touchdowns with the extra point are worth 7. So when you see a spread of 2.5, 3, 3.5, or 6.5, 7, 7.5, those half points, or what we call the hook, they matter more than most people realize. That's why sometimes when you buy the hook, you'll notice that it costs a little bit more juice because books know exactly how valuable that half point is once it crosses through a key number. Key numbers also apply to totals, all right? The most common landing spots historically in football in the NFL are 37, 41, 43, and 44. So when you're betting a total, ideally you're playing above those key ranges for an over and below them for an under. When you see a total hanging around 43.5, for example, the book is telling you something. It's no accident that that's the number that they're giving out, okay? This makes it really important when it comes to identifying what we call teasers, okay? A teaser is basically a parlay where you can move the spread or the total in your favor. Most commonly, you do this by 6 points, okay? So think of teasers as like, an alternate total, alternate spread, right? But the most common is a 6-point teaser. That is what the professionals use, and it's because it can help us get through some of the key numbers. The most popular and most profitable version is known as a Wong teaser. That's where you move a line through both the key numbers of 3 and 7. These spots have been huge for me this year. That's why I am mentioning it. You may recall me on the podcast, every week kind of talking about, hey, this looks like a teaser trap play. And I feel like it's an important spot to identify as a bettor. And just as important as spotting a teaser is also spotting one when everyone else is teasing the same way. Okay? Right? For example, week 1, Cowboys were a popular tease spot. Faded, we cashed. Packers versus the Cowboys a few weeks ago ended up in a tie game. Packers were minus 7.5 point favorites. The natural tease down, the popular teaser spot was to buy that down 6 points to minus 1.5 in favor of Green Bay. That game ended in a tie. The teaser lost, right? think earlier this week or last week, we had the Bills minus 7.5 versus the Patriots. That teaser lost outright. And again, just recently on Thursday, we had the Eagles minus 7.5 versus the Giants. Same story. Eagles lost outright. Now, what all of those games have in common is that not only were they popular teasers, is that they were teasers that were the most popular of the week, and they happened to be on prime time. So when you see those big numbers, right, of 7.5 in a primetime spot, understand that the sharp and the big money bettors are teasing that down to minus 1.5. If you see 7.5 on the board, even if it's not prime time, assume that that number is minus 1.5. Okay, that means a lot of money is tied up in those safe teaser legs, especially in the primetime spots. And when the book needs one of those to lose, it usually does. Okay? I'm not saying that sports are rigged. Okay? I'm saying that the sports books that make these lines, they are sharp. And they are sharp for a reason. Right? If you think that sports is rigged, then you shouldn't be gambling on it. Okay? Um, do questionable calls happen? Does it feel weird when a flag happens at the end of the day or at the end of the game? Sure. But I don't believe that sports are rigged. I can't because of the nature of my business. I can't assume those things. All right. But identifying something where I know that I can be profitable in the long run, because there is a saying, right? The house always wins, right? So if I can find out where the house needs to win at, then I can be more isolated in where I'm putting my money. Okay? Now let's talk about something. It's a great segue into the pros versus the Joes dynamic when it comes to sports betting. When I look at a board, I'm paying attention to two things, right? The percentage of bets on each side and the percentage of money on each side, also known as the handle. All right. So percentage of bets versus the handle or the money on each side. If 75% of the bets are on one team, but only 50% of the money is, that tells me that there are sharp bettors on the opposite side. And that's where I start digging. Okay. You'll hear me say this a lot. The public has to eat somewhere. I say it a lot because I think it's true. The public is going to win sometimes. They have to. It is what keeps the books in business. I always tell people those buildings in Las Vegas, they weren't built off winners, but it gives people enough hope to keep playing. If you can identify when the line doesn't move despite heavy betting, that's called a line freeze, and it's a major signal to stop and reassess. If you see the line move against the public, that's called reverse line movement. And that's usually where the sharp money is flowing and where you'll get the term follow the money. Okay? Now, for me, primetime football, it's a totally different animal altogether. By Sunday night, books already know where their liabilities are based how based on how the day games have gone and how they've played out. For example, like if all of the favorites cashed and crushed during the early slate, you might see a dog win outright in prime time. If underdogs covered all day, the public will try to get their money back by betting on the primetime favorites. The books know it. So a lot of this game is psychological, both for bettors and bookmakers. So before I make any play, I always ask myself, what can the books afford tonight? That's how I approach the NFL board. Okay. Now let's dive in to Sunday's slate. 12 games on the board. Let's get through. I got some plays. in each one of them. Okay? Gonna try to go in order of how these games appear, but it might not be perfect, so bear with me. All right, game number one. Jets at the Broncos. Uh, Line is -7 in favor of the Broncos. Total sitting at 43.5. I'm gonna lean the Broncos -7 here. No, this is a neutral. As I think they're playing overseas in a 9 a.m. game. The Jets are in what I think to be another rebuild cycle. And the trade rumors surrounding Brees Hall right now are not helping. Okay. Denver has only allowed 2 running backs recently all season to clear the rushing total that Brees Hall is set at 68. Jonathan Taylor cleared that. He had 165 yards on the ground for the Colts, and Omarion Hampton for the Chargers, who I think actually just landed on the IR, had 70 yards. So he cleared it by 2 rushing yards. All right. Hall is definitely explosive. One of the most explosive backs in the league. But the game script will likely force the Jets to abandon a run early and air it out. Okay. The play here in this Jets and Broncos game, Brees Hall under 68.5 rushing yards on the day. Game number 2, Browns at Steelers. Steelers are 5-point favorites. Total set at 38.5. Divisional game, rookie quarterback, physical defenses. Defenses. You already know where this is going. Pittsburgh continuously plays low-scoring football by nature. Cleveland's defense is among one of the best in the league, and it's going to keep teams in check inside of the red zone. This total is way too high, given both of the game scripts here. I'm going to play the under 38.5 in this game. Okay. Game number 3. Chargers laying 4.5 points versus the Dolphins. Total is set at 43.5. I think people are kind of expecting some fireworks in this one. I don't. Miami's offense hasn't been the same on the road. I hate their methodical approach. I hate the play call. I just hate everything about this Dolphins team, okay? I don't think that they're going to score more than 14, 15 points. Okay. Chargers defense has quietly tightened up against some of these speed-based teams, and obviously Tyreek Hill is out for the Dolphins. So, another element another weapon that they're going without. I see this one as, 27-13 in favor of the Chargers. Best play here, under 43.5. That key number with the hook. And you see how there we bet the under. If we like the over in this game, we don't want to touch the 43.5. We would want to touch like a 42 or even a 43 where we have, push insurance. But 43.5, key number with the hook, I'll take the under every single time. Game 4, Patriots laying 3.5 points against the Saints. Total is 46. I think last week reminded us of one thing. Well, multiple things if you're a Bills fan like myself, but it reminded us that Stephon Diggs is still one of the most dependable targets in the league. Some of the surest hands that we've ever seen, but he's got to get chances, right? I think that Drake May has to make a conscious effort to feed him again. Tight game script in a 3.5 point, favorited game. Stephon Diggs over 6.5 receptions is the best play in this game. Game number 5. This game is a pick'em. Looks like Jaguars are slightly favorited, -1 over the Seahawks. Total set at 46.5. Simple for me. Trevor Lawrence fighting for his job. Jacksonville fighting for their home. Relocation rumors aside, this defense, they look kind of reminiscent of the Saxonville era, if you guys remember that. Almost, 8, 9 years ago. Fast, aggressive, disruptive. I think they lead the league in takeaways, something like 14, 15 takeaways. Seattle's traveling. I think the Jags control this one, man. Jaguars on the money line. Best bet in this game. Game number 6. Cardinals are catching 6.5 against the Colts. 7.5, actually. Key number in the hook. Cardinals are catching 7.5 points against the Colts. The total is set at 47.5. Here's my upset of the week. I'm not going to buy the Daniel Jones magic act just yet. Okay? The Colts are being priced here like they are invincible, and they're not. Arizona's been a pretty scrappy team coming off really bad loss. +7 feels like a line that's a bit inflated. And I don't know if Arizona and Indianapolis played last year, and I probably should have did some research on it, but Marvin Harrison Jr. coming back, I don't know. I guess it's not necessarily the house that, his father built, because I'm not sure if they played in the same stadium or whatnot, but clearly, just, I don't know. Gut feeling says that Marvin Harrison Jr. probably gets a touchdown just because, it just feels right, I guess. Um, but I'm going to play the Cardinals on the money line here. Cardinals on the money line plus 240, whatever it is. It's the upset of the week. And I think it happens in Indianapolis. Okay, game 7. Cowboys laying 3.5 against the Panthers. Total is set at 49.5. No Micah Parsons, obviously, no problem. Dak Prescott's been in rhythm. This Panthers defense does not have the weapons to match up with the Cowboys. Even without, Michael Parsons, the star defender for the Dallas Cowboys, it's week 5 now, right? I think Dallas's offense alone is going to be enough to dismantle Carolina. So I'm going to play the Cowboys -3 here. I've got this at 37-20 Dallas. So Cowboys -3. Um, I don't think the hook is going to be as important here. But obviously, I don't like this as much at 3.5. I love this at 3. Game number 8. We are looking at the Rams. They are laying 7.5 points against the Ravens. Total is set at 44.5. This is interesting because here we go. Another teaser potential spot where assume this game is, Rams -1.5. I don't know. I don't really have a lean on this side. I know that the Ravens don't have Lamar Jackson. It's Cooper Russian. But the Rams can score. They can score a lot. And I don't think that this Ravens team is completely incompetent as they looked with Cooper Rush last week. Okay, so yes, it's risky. Baltimore's secondary has a lot of holes in them. Stafford's arm is alive and well. I think if LA puts up 27, all we need is about 18 from the Ravens to clear this. So I'm going to bet the over 44.5 here. Okay. Key number with the hook. But I think that this line should be closer to 47. So I do think that the over is the best play in this game. Game number 9. Raiders versus the Titans. Look like the Raiders are slight favorites here. Total is at 41.5. Boise State's own Ashton Genty is the closer here. He's been explosive late in games. I expect a heavy workload from him in this game. One big run in the second half. I think he could get us home here. The play here is going to be Ashton Genty over 75.5 rushing yards on the day. I think of this in increments, right? Think of this in can we get 35 yards and a lead going into the second half? Can we get a more insurance, scores in a late in third quarter? Then we just hand the ball to Genty the rest of the game, and we just rack it up, rack it up, rack it up, rack it up. This is what probably lands on around 78, 79. So I think the over 75.5 is the best play in this game. Ashton Genty to clear his rushing prop. All right, game 10. 49ers at Buccaneers. Bucks are laying 3.5. Total is at 46. I love this game, dude. I love this game. Um, my model has this as 4.5, 5. So, I know I talked a lot about these key numbers and the hook, and you got to be careful. But Tampa's at home. Home field is worth 3 points alone. Okay. You're telling me that right now the Buccaneers and the 49ers are a pick 'em on a neutral, right? Imagine this is a Super Bowl, right? You're telling me that the Buccaneers are only point 0.5 favorites against the Niners with a backup quarterback. I'm not going to buy it. Baker's been money when it matters, especially in the fourth quarter. But like I said, my model has this closer to the number 5. Play here would be Buccaneers minus 3.5. Okay. Game 11. Bengals at the Packers. Total is set at 47. We all know that the spread is a 14.5 point spread, the largest of the year so far, and the rare key number of 14 with the hook making an appearance. Got no idea. I don't think that look like if Joe Flacco beats the Packers again for the second time this year, that would be amazing. It'd be one of the all-time storylines, whatever. Yeah, Joe Flacco's return is fun, but the Packers O line or the Bengals O line is not built to protect a 40-year-old quarterback. It could barely. Well, it didn't. It didn't protect Joe Burrow at all, and he's injured now. And he's out for the season for like the third time in his career. If I'm Joe Flacco here, I mean, look, he went out there in a press conference the other day. He said, "Look, I'm here because I'm grateful at the opportunity to play in the NFL. I'm gonna go out there. I'm gonna give him my best. I'm just happy that teams believe in me." He's one of the last true gunslingers left of our generation, right? I- If I'm Joe, I'm throwing it up to Jamar Chase every drive. Just I don't know how much the Bengals are going to score. I don't think that they get shut out. I think that there are opportunities and holes in this Packers defense, and you know Joe Flacco is an upgrade from Jake Browning, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, I'm giving it to number one every single time that I can. One of those connects and we cash. Best play here would be Jamar Chase, anytime touchdown plus 220. All right, last game, prime time game. Lions are catching 1.5 points against the Chiefs at Arrowhead. Total is set at 48. Cat's out the bag, literally. Detroit getting plus money feels like a trap. And I'm walking straight into it. Kansas City is in a must-win spot. But as I always say, just because a team has to win doesn't mean that it'll happen. Okay? The Lions, on the other hand, they've been a very, very sure team. Looks like they're finding and getting back to their identity. Um, I mean, balanced, physical, built to win this type of game. I know Dan Campbell's going to have them fired up for this one. Best play here, Lions on the money line, plus 122. Okay, that's all 12 games. It's taking me about 25 minutes. But if you made it to the end, here's the icing on the cake. I want to give you a plus money special. 3 anytime scores, 1 from each slate. From the 1 p.m. game, 1 from the 4 p.m. game, 1 from the late night game. Ironically, this one, 3 tight ends, 3 security blankets, 3 red zone matchups that make sense at plus 27. 760 odds. Sprinkle it, don't chase it, but here it comes. Gonna take Trey McBride for the Arizona Cardinals. Anytime touchdown against Indianapolis. Okay. Arizona's passing game runs through Trey McBride, and his red zone target makes sense here. So Trey McBride to find the end zone against the Colts. That's leg number 1. It's the 1 p.m. game. In the 4 p.m. slate, we're gonna go to the Buccaneers game against the Niners. Cade Otton, Baker's safety blanket, and nobody struggles to cover tight ends like the 49ers struggle to cover tight ends. Cade Otton to find the end zone against the Niners, leg number 2. And then we roll in to primetime Sunday night. You know what the play is. Last leg, Sam Laporta for the Lions to find the end zone against the Chiefs. Already a favorite of Jared Goff. And, hasn't really got going this year. But he finds a way to shine in big moments. Okay? 3 tight ends, 3 catches, 3 touchdowns. And we cashed this one. Okay? All right. That was kind of fun. But that'll wrap up the NFL Sunday slate. If you want in-game plays, live props, make sure you're in the VIP. Links are in the description. Look, enjoy the games. Bet smart. Find value. And as always, I'll see you at the counter. I'll be back Monday to recap how the slate went, break down more primetime games for Monday. And as always, I hope each and every